Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 582nd episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have Andrea Waltz back in the house. She was on episode way back when. Let me see. Where's her picture? Number 78. Wow. She is the co-author with her husband of Go for No, and I love that approach. And we get into it and why. We get into her approach with her husband. We talk about her book is a small little book, and they have sold hundreds of thousands of copies. They speak, they train from a simple, powerful concept, a fundamental concept. So if you're running yourself ragged, if you're tired, if you're worn out, you're exhausted, you're running low on funds, and you realize it's because you're chasing a lot of shiny objects, this could be a great episode for you to buckle down, to figure out what really matters, and just keep doing that. Everybody I was talking to a client last night on why you need to stick with what works. Okay, and I gave the example, the story. It was like 2013. I had a booth at Infusionsoft's conference, and I was selling my Infusionsoft book, and Jason Sheff came up. He was the lead singer of Chicago at the time. He replaced Peter Cetera back in the 80s. But he's an entrepreneur, and we got to talking. We hit it off, and he came on the Sales Podcast, and then he gave me tickets when they came to Pachanga out here in Temecula. Got to go backstage, meet him and some of the original members. And a friend of mine was at the show just coincidentally, who was a huge, huge fan. So I got him and his wife backstage. They were freaking out. But, when I heard them play, 2014, 2015, the original members of the band are as old as my dad, or older, right? Mid to late 70s. So they've been singing Saturday in the Park, at that point for, about 50 years, give or take. And so being older, having done this for 50 years, 10,000 times, 20,000 times, I don't know, right? A bunch. It would have been understandable if they just phoned it in, if they just kind of half-assed it. And people would probably still be okay with it. They didn't do that. They sounded exactly like their album. They were amazing. And I appreciated it. And now here I am 7-8 years later, still telling the story. They sounded perfect. Professionals do it until they can't get it wrong. Okay? Rookies do it until they get it right. I'm about to leave for jiu-jitsu. My instructor, he's been at I've seen him get 2 stripes on his black belt. So at his level, they're like every 5 years apart now. And I think he's a 5th degree black belt now. So he's been a 4th degree black belt almost longer than I've trained jiu-jitsu, because he got it within a couple of months of me starting. So, so he's been that much of an expert for as long as I've just trained. He has failed in tournaments more times than I have failed, period. Right? So just tournaments. That's why he's so good. So are you that much of a professional? Have you found the fundamentals that you can stick with over and over and over again? Which reminds me, my instructor, Ricardo, he knows all the fancy moves. But in watching his tournaments over the years, I can't remember him winning with some fancy move. He does very much fundamental old school jiu-jitsu and kicks everybody's ass. Now, it's not as exciting, but in sales, are you looking for creativity and inspiration, or are you looking to make sales? Okay, don't mix up the two. Focus on what works to make the sale, and then take up a hobby. Learn to play the drums. I don't care. But in sales, stick with what works, okay? And that's what Andrea does. So you'll get a lot out of this episode. As usual, I've been doing this for several episodes. Just hit you with a few of my affiliate links. Well, one is 12 Weeks to Peak, and that is free. 12weekstopeak.com. Get you some of that. Still in the beta mode. I spoke with my developer yesterday. It'll probably be another month before he gets working at it. But I do plan to create an app for you. For now, it's a Google Sheet. You track it. It's a free LinkedIn group. 12weekstopeak.com. Okay, if you're still looking for a CRM, it's crmquiz.com. If you're looking to get more leads, turn lurkers into leads, leadferno.thesalespodcast.com. That's what gets me the affiliate credit, okay? And you pay the same amount. So get you some of that, all right? And then let me know how it goes. And after you go get that, come back and listen to this episode with Andrea. Andrea Waltz, author of Go for No. Yes is the destination. No is how you get there after 8 years. Welcome back to the show. How the heck are you?
Thank you. It's so good to be back. And as we were talking before we started the show, I'm great, talking about the same things because rejection never goes away in sales. So I have a permanent place. I've crafted a permanent niche.
Yeah, I hear you. It's it's cool to see because I see people come out with stuff, and I want to talk about your book, and I want to encourage people because it's not a big book, and here you are 8 years later, still going, even longer than that. I think people put too much pressure on themselves, and I see, and it's like a marketing ploy. People are be like, the last book you ever need on A, B, and C, and then they come out with the real last book you ever need. Oh no, it's like Star Wars, right? You think that's the beginning. Oh no, we got to do the prequels. So that's really wasn't 1, 2, and 3. It was really 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to give you 1, 2, and 3, and now I'm like all confused. Like, where do I start?
So, absolutely, yes. I promise we will not be coming out with Go for Yes. I promise.
Yeah, you could, but I like your approach for several reasons, and I've referenced you forever in training and speaking. I love the approach, so I want us to go back and have you tell the story. But like going for yes, old school sales trainers are always like, never ask a closed question that they can say no to. And I know your no is a little different reason, but it's like, I want to hear no early.
Yeah.
Right. And your model, you want to hear no later, although I guess you could want to hear it early as well. But like hearing no early is a win.
Absolutely. I mean, from a disqualification standpoint, if you are going through and figuring out who your best ideal customers are, prospects, then if you get a no early, that is a great win. It probably saves you a lot of time. I mean, the worst no's are the ones you find out 6 months in after having somebody in your CRM and you have all of these, you tell yourself all these stories and you're like, this is a good lead. And then by the time you finally have this conversation and you realize you've just wasted a ton of time, their time, but mostly your time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you're, just tell your story for those that may not have heard all the way back on episode 78, because this one is coming out. When are we coming out? This one will be episode right around 580, 581, somewhere in there. So, a little water has passed under the bridge. So tell us your story again. It was you, and were you married at the time, or were y'all dating?
Yeah. So my husband, Richard, and I, we've run this business now together, talking about Go for No for 20 years now. And, but at the time I learned about it, we were colleagues, hadn't even started our business yet. And he told me this Go for No story about a time that he was selling suits for a living. And his district manager asked him, after having this great sale, what did that customer say no to? And Richard had to admit to this, to his district manager, that the customer didn't say no to anything, that everything he laid in front of that guy purchased. And then the district manager asked him this other really great question, which was, then how did you know he was done if he never said no to anything? And so this story that happened to Richard when he was selling suits became kind of the central foundational story to the book Go for No that we wrote many all those years ago, and still continues to do well, because it's kind of, I mean, the idea of go for no, the idea of rejection is completely timeless. It's something that will forever be a part of the reality of sales. And so we continue to teach and talk about the psychology, the mindset around rejection, around not fearing it, the strategies of actually getting no and being okay with it and making it work for you, and how to value it, and all of the nuances to go for no. And then even today with technology, even using social media, you still have to approach somebody and eventually, as abhorrent as this is for some people, have a conversation. I know that sounds absolutely terrifying. Everybody would just love to transact business in their, sheltered and not have to speak to anybody, but they do. So, but it evolves, right? So my story is really that I learned this philosophy from him. And when we launched our business, it was the thing that we were teaching. We were teaching retailers, actually. That was that was really our niche, was large retail companies. We would go out and do customer service, sales workshops. Go for no was one of the things that we talked about, but everybody loved go for no. And so eventually we said, you know what, let's change our business from one where we specialize in an industry to one where we specialize on this topic, because we're starting to own this message. We're starting to own this topic. And now at this point, it's all we do. It's literally, this message is all we do. And it's for anyone who has to face failure, rejection, and hearing no in the course of their, day-to-day business and their sales.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important, like, to get tough skin, right? And like not take this personally. Now, so your husband, that was in the suit business, but did y'all work together in the eye?
We did. Yes.
Okay.
And that's how we met, was at work, the classic at work meeting story. He was one of the company's best trainers. I was running a $3 million location for the company. And yeah, we hit it off and realized we had the same philosophies. And that's when we exited way early, way before that was the thing to do. Everyone thought we were totally insane.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. And so your book is, let me see here, even counting the about us and everything else, it's only 80 pages. How am I supposed to take you seriously? I mean, the great sales trainers, they write like 800-page books, and there's a series, and come on, is this for real?
I know. We could have made it. Well, it's kind of funny because we actually, now there's so much more material and so many nuances. But even if I had to do it over, even if I was to write a book today, I'm such a fan of having this book be short. I think has gotten it read, which is really what's so key for a book. It's one thing to have a best-selling book. We want a best consumed book. We want a best read book, because two things happen when people read the book. One, they actually can get the information, digest it, and get results. And two, when they read a book, that's how they tell other people. And we all know that we have the 300-page book on our shelf, and in our office, I know I do, sitting right over here, staring at me all the time. And I'm like, I really need to read that book. And maybe there's a smaller one on my shelf I can just pull out and read that one instead. That's where we are with our attention span. So our goal really is to get the fundamental message across. When you read Go for No, the message is, don't let no stand between you and yes. You're going to have to move through the no's. You've got to embrace no. You've got to be willing to hear no more often. And the more times you are willing to hear no, the more yeses there are going to be in your future. Mm-hmm. But do it, again, I know people listening to this, some people are going to, wait, that's crazy. You don't want to hear no. You want to hear no intelligently, obviously. And you want to learn from it. And there are all of those nuances, but that's the general philosophy.
Yeah. And, when I explain it, like, hey, when you go to McDonald's and they're like, would you like to supersize it for an extra $1? Would you like to add an apple pie for another $1? I mean, they're going for no, right?
Absolutely. Millions and millions and millions of dollars is created and it's the perfect example in a company like McDonald's. The classic line, would you like fries with that? Those upsells generate millions of dollars. And for I remember we worked with a a company that this is way back when we had VHS tapes. It was a rental chain in the South, and they were exploring having like checkout machines up at the, self-checkout type machines, but that would ask the customer every time, hey, would you like to take a box of M&Ms home with you, or red vines, or something like that. And if those questions are asked every time without assumption or prejudging or anything like that, they just get asked every single time, I mean, the numbers skyrocket in terms of sales, because when we ask, those yeses are out there. When we don't ask, it's like you almost give people permission when you even ask to say, oh yeah, it's not my fault. I got the fries, but it was only because they brought it up. It's not my fault.
Yeah, but that doesn't work for me, Andrea. I'm in a very complex business. I'm in B2B. It's a complex sale.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a no for me.
Yes, I know. But you know what? In those complex sales, it's even more difficult, because you have to go to a multitude of stakeholders, and you're going to get more no's than you know what to do with when you're dealing with those complex sales. And you've got to be willing to hear them. You've got to be willing to ask, you have to ask the tough questions and get those no's early and find out what's going on with people, so that you don't get, 3 months into this process and find out that the CTO is not on board. And it's all because you didn't want to ask the tough questions early on, because you just would rather not hear those no's, or hear the criticism, or hear the feedback, which at that point it's early and you could handle it. You have that time to manage those objections.
Right. Yeah. Or even conversely, I mean, they're winning the sale, but they just get the initial sale like an auto shop that, sells the tires, and the guy drives away and pays somebody else $1,500 to do his brakes.
Right.
Like, oh, I didn't know y'all did brakes.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't ask.
Yeah, exactly. It's this exactly. There's some companies that we've worked with that also they're selling very technical, like healthcare type things. They're selling very high end, very technical type products. They have these accounts that they're managing, but then there are other accounts available in that same organization that they could be reaching out to that they're just not.
Right.
So there's all of this opportunity out there to go for no, to ask, to reach out to people and see if you can open those doors. And oftentimes the one thing standing between people doing that is just their fear of rejection, what somebody's going to think. And it's so much easier to just be an account manager and kind of be that order taker and hope that those orders and those sales just keep rolling in.
Yeah. So where would you say this applies? At the beginning, like the intro, trying to get your foot in the door, in the middle, at the end, on an upsell and a renewal, all the above?
All of the above. One of the things that we encourage people to do is to make a list of what we call your go for no moments. So a go for no moment is a moment in your process where you have the opportunity to ask your prospect a question, which will dictate which direction you take, the sale. And it could be at the very, very beginning. You might be calling somebody to find out if they have a home security system. And you make a call and you find out, well, this person lives in an apartment building and they have a security system. So right then you got a great no, you got it at the very, very beginning. But instead, let's say you end up and you reach a homeowner who doesn't have a security system. Now, what's your next question? What's your next go for no moment? And so you go through the entire process, and maybe now you get all the way through and this person buys and the installation happens. And now here you are, the salesperson. Your final go for no moment might be following up with them and asking for a referral to the neighbor, asking for a review online. There's so many go for no moments if you're just willing to sit down and look at your process, where you have to have the courage to ask those questions. So it's the entire process.
Yeah. It's let's say in the very beginning, and this is where I mean a lot of people struggle because they never even get started. Um, and I want to talk about your little 21-day challenge here in a second, but um, can you give us some examples like on prospecting? Do they need to be cute or creative, quick about it, methodical and slow? There's some things they shouldn't ask, like of a certain title, or just apply the same thing to everyone and just rinse, wash, and repeat. How can they get over this hurdle and get more reps in?
Right. So speed, right? I mean, you're talking about making progress and getting through and making
Just
these
these initial prospecting efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, first of all, and this is something that I've noticed in the Go for No challenge, is that people have really high goals that they want to hit, and it could be a quota set for them. But a lot of times, it's salespeople who or self-employed like solopreneurs who have these really lofty dreams and goals. And then what they realize very quickly when they do a Go for No challenge is that their activity is nowhere near, it is not matching that goal whatsoever. There is a massive gap between the activity that they are doing now and the goal that they are trying to reach. That
Okay,
is
whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you saying I can't just manifest this?
I'm all about high vibration and manifesting, but no.
I was told if I align my chakras when Saturn is in retrograde, things happen.
I know, that would be so
No,
nice.
no?
Yes. That might be a book that I'll do in 2030 once
All
I
right. All right.
So
Go
yeah,
for Saturn.
right. Go for Saturn. Go for Mars. Yeah. Elon Musk. So the challenge is how to close that gap. And it's really just activity. It is, as you said, it's putting in the reps. So a lot of times people figure out very quickly they have to back up and make sure that they have the leads that they want to reach out to, and that these are ideally who they believe to be good, high quality prospects. But oftentimes you don't know, right? So, I mean, I don't teach, because we're not Go for Yes, I don't teach, hey, here's the magic phrase that is rejection proof and you're going to get a yes every time. I am a fan. There's a old selling philosophy. It was a book written actually kind of when we started our business. It was like really big in the 90s, called High Probability Selling. And it is very much a respect your prospect and ask the questions as quickly, as simply as possible. Like, just figure out, are they qualified? Yes or no. And if they're not qualified, you're gone. Now, this is not like the time to persuade. And so if I called US and said, hey, I'm just curious if you guys hire speakers for your annual conference, and you said, oh, I don't even have an annual conference. This is not the time where I go like, you don't have an annual
You
conference?
should have a conference.
Let's back up. We need to have a meeting. Can I have a meeting to tell you why you should have a conference? So I have to sell you on that. Then I have to sell you on hiring me. Maybe I just get you to have the conference and you're like, I don't need her. So no, it's the best, most specific, most yes or no. Get a no, great. Get a yes, fabulous. You can move on to the next step and do that as quickly as you can, as often as you can. That's our simple formula anyway.
Yeah. Do you get into any kind of scripting? I mean, just keep it simple.
Keep it simple. We don't teach scripting because from our standpoint, we're much more on the mindset. But I have lots and lots of opinions on scripting. And I think that most people just go way overboard in terms of trying to do sales presentations on the phone when they're prospecting. I think prospecting should be prospecting and selling should be selling. I think there's to me, a dividing line. I don't sell when I'm prospecting. When I'm prospecting, I am just trying to see if this person's open to take the next step. And then if we can get on a call, then I can start presenting and then I can start selling.
Yeah. Amen. what are you seeing in your training? I've been asking this since COVID started. How are you seeing the effectiveness of the phone? Does the phone still work?
I think the phone absolutely can work. I mean, it certainly does for me. But I think that it's hard to get people to answer it. So if you can use social media, if you can use LinkedIn, if you can kind of get through some of it to get those appointments, I think that's effective, and I have no problem with that. But I'm definitely one of these people who's like totally cool with cold calls. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think if you keep it fast and respectful, just trying to determine if somebody is qualified for what you have, then I think it makes great sense. And I understand that, no one wants to make 500 dials a day. So if you can do your research and if you can get yourself a qualified prospect list, all the better.
Well, yeah, for sure. But a lot of times people don't. I mean, the list is kind of an educated guess.
Yes.
Hey, we do well in healthcare. We do well in financial services.
Mm-hmm.
Try to find the IT manager, the CIO. Good luck. Go get them.
Right.
But I always tell people, even with that, I mean, that's not a true cold call.
No.
You know something about these people.
Yes.
I mean, I had no problem with those. I enjoyed them because I knew if I could get somebody on the phone, and I had good case studies, had good examples, had a good reason for them to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get into this mindset, like why are people so damn hesitant to do the work? Do they just want it easy? Do they just want, make a tweet and money just rolls in? I mean, I know it's ideal, but it doesn't happen.
I think that's what's being sold with social media. I think that's what you see, everyone on social media making everything look so easy that you think you're the only dumb one who must be doing it the hard way. And that there's got to be and from a biological human nature standpoint, we're designed to, not only are we designed and it's built in our DNA to fear rejection, but we're also designed to try to find efficient ways to do things to our benefit, right? We don't want to do things the hard way. But I can't even imagine if I was starting out. I feel so lucky that I started out in a world that didn't have me relying on all the social media stuff. And I had to, I went on AOL and I was going to say Google, didn't exist though. Went on AOL, searched for information and just used the phone. I used the phone constantly to do my research, even to figure out who was at these companies, and I just got really used to falling on my face and being awkward and sounding ridiculous, because that's what it was. And I just started to not care. I need this information. So however lame I sound, asking if this woman is still at this company. And then of course I find out, she's been gone for 2 months or whatever. Well, who's now in this position that I could maybe talk to? And yeah, it's painful. So I think part of it too is that people don't want to do the work, and it's very awkward. It puts you in just this, it's a constant feeling like you're out of control. It's uncertain, it's awkward, and you just don't know what's going to happen. And you care so much about the judgment, what other people think. So you just pile all that on, and it's no, I would rather just go on Instagram and maybe something magical will happen.
Well, they know it doesn't.
Yeah.
But they keep doing it. So what's a crazy good success story from one of your workshops or programs that people have applied recently?
You mean a personal success story that somebody's had?
Yeah, I gone through your program and oh my gosh, I finally picked up my phone, got off my ass, and boom.
Yeah. So, all right. So this is really interesting, and I it's something that with Go for No is so individual, and I never know who's going to be the shining star.
Oh, for
So,
sure.
right. And so in every challenge, what happens is people sign up, they're really excited. And the challenge is very simple. It's see how many no's you can get in 21 days. That is like as simple as I can make it. And you obviously want to kind of pay attention and you want to count, and it can be in any part of the process. We teach people to set a no goal. So every day, they wake up and it's like, try to get 5 no's today. And inevitably there will be 1 or 2 people who just, it's so outside their comfort zone and so awkward that as much as they love the idea of Go for No, they just can't execute it. And it's in some cases it's, it's like a psychological block almost, I think. That's kind of what I'm guessing. Then, like I had one woman, her name was Aggie. She was amazing. She was like, she just turned on her Go for No machine. She's like, I'm just talking to everybody. I'm telling everybody my story. I'm reaching out to strangers. She goes,
What did she sell?
I'm not exactly sure. She was some kind of direct sales product. I think it was like like a CBD oil type product, and was just talking to so many people. And she goes, I'm killing it. She goes, I'm breaking all my sales records. I'm breaking my sales goals. I've had the best month ever. I don't know her exact numbers. I didn't know her past numbers, and we don't I don't track it to that extent.
Yeah.
But she was just doing fantastic. And then you kind of have, so we would get on the calls every 7 days to see what's going on with people. So she would report, then you'd have people who would kind of lurk and wouldn't really say much, who were struggling. And then kind of the bulk of everyone else is somewhere in the middle. And a lot of it is just making Go for No a habit. But the funny thing about it is I'm telling people, this is not like some weird thing I'm asking you guys to do that you shouldn't be doing now. This is selling. This is what it is. I'm having you frame it in a different way, saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with getting a no. Don't worry about it. I'm just having you kind of move through those no's and collect them in order to get the yeses. But this activity, doing your prospecting or reaching out to people, this is nothing that this is not weird, right?
Right.
But the activity is so difficult, and so a lot of people struggle with just, I need to make it a habit. And I feel like it's so easy to get distracted with all of the other things that we could be doing. But the most important thing is you've got to get eyes on your offer, eyes and ears on your offer. What's your offer? What's the question that you want people to to answer? And the more you do that, the better your chances. That's bottom line.
Right. Do they push back though on like, I don't know what to say, or is it just jump in and learn how to swim, like jump out of that nest and you will start flying?
So most of the people it's a great question. So most of the people that join a challenge are in business and have been in business for a while, or in sales. We have some people who are we have a few people who are in like their traditional corporate sales roles, and they just did this kind of as a thing for them to do on the side. The people that are really into personal growth and development, obviously professional development. So when you show up, I'm assuming in most cases, the first question to ask to figure out if somebody's right to take the next step. And I can certainly coach people on that, but that question should be, to me, really obvious. Mm-hmm. Like that. And so I usually give the example, like I gave to you, of, hey, do you hire speakers for your annual conference? Like that is the easiest, fastest question that will get me the information that I want to either continue or to say, no, yeah, we have an annual conference, but no, we don't hire speakers. Great. Don't need to talk to you ever again. Right? Unless I want to sell you on hiring professional speakers, but I'd rather not. I'd rather just find someone who says, yes, but our meeting was last month. And now I can go, great. So now I know that in 11 months you're going to have a conference. So I'm going to call you back in 7 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like how much time should they spend curating that list versus diving in? Because obviously you could pull a list of like, show me all the conferences held at the Las Vegas Convention Center in the last 12 months. And then, but maybe that takes a while, or you got to spend money and,
yeah. So this is trickier because depending on what you're selling and your access to good quality leads, that dictates a lot of work. And if you are forced to figure out your own leads and do some research, then you're going to take a lot of time doing that. And I think in some cases it's worth it to get some of that research done up front, to know, let's say, for example, you get a list of, I'm just making this up, the security system thing. So you're able to come into a list of people, homeowners in your town who you don't know what they have all, but you at least know that they're homeowners in your town. So these are hopefully semi-qualified prospects. And so to the extent that you can whittle that down, that's great. And then there's other people who are literally talking to people, they're going for no on the street. They're talking to anybody. And that makes it a lot more difficult. So your numbers, the quantity of people that you talk to is going to have to go up based on how good your leads are.
Yeah. And I mean, there's pros and cons to both. I mean, that I tell people, like, get some thick skin and just get after it. Because you're gonna, like, my daughter's in volleyball and she's new. She's been on rec leagues, but now she made the team at a big high school. So there's more pressure and they're getting after it more and they're confused on rotations. And I'm like, don't half-ass it. Wherever you think your spot is, get to that spot, because dilly-dallying just makes you jam up things. And the better example, is football. We learned, like, if you're the fullback and you're supposed to go to the right, right off the center, but you mess up and you start running outside towards the tight end, and then you realize 2 steps in, oh no, I should be in the center.
Mm-hmm.
When you make that, when you stop and try to shift your momentum, you end up doing nothing. You cause a mess because now the running back runs up into you. And I'm like, you're better off to run off tackle and hit that defensive end hard in the mouth. And okay, the linebacker steps up, the D lineman steps up, and all right, you lose 2 yards on the play. You would have lost 2 yards on the play anyway because you're gunking things up. Maybe you lost 5 because now the running back's running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and you didn't hit that defensive end. If you hit that defensive end in the mouth hard every single time, even on the wrong plays, eventually he's going to be tired, and you can run that way. And right, because whatever you did hard. You did with power, with gusto, full speed ahead. And it's like, good things will start to happen. Yes, you will get yelled at for that mistake. And you can't make the same mistake every time, but you can make it once and then learn. But just like go, and you'll get some momentum. You'll start having some fun with it, right? I mean, have any of your clients that have gone through this, has anyone died? Has a customer ever jumped through the phone and bitten their face off and sucked them in like poltergeist, and now they live in the ether, never to escape?
Yes. Oh gosh. Not to my knowledge. If I am ever haunted by somebody, though, I am going to check that out.
Well, but if they did, you wouldn't know. Well, I guess their coworkers would tell them, you got my coworker killed. But I mean, you didn't even get that message, right?
I know. Completely. Well, and I get your point, which is people will wait and wait and wait, and there'll always be some excuse, which is, these leads aren't good enough. I don't really know who these people are. I need to do more research. I really want to dig in and find out. And that absolutely can be an Achilles heel. You don't need to know anything more than, hey, to me, this is a somewhat qualified. I know a fact or two that makes me believe that this is a potentially qualified person. And then you can go do the disqualifying. But this desire to know every last thing, and also to have that perfect script. But it's not just to have that first question. Like, I think to me, it's get the first question in your head, get that down, and then be flexible when you get the answer. But you don't need to have your entire sales presentation written out in front of you especially when you're prospecting, because you're just prospecting, you're not selling. So but yes, to your point, get into it. And that's the other thing, is just procrastination is huge, because I think it is part preparation, and preparation is huge, but then there's the fear. And so a big part of Go for No, and that's probably the biggest success we had, was just people reporting back on our weekly calls. I did this. I made this call. I was scared to do this. I did it anyway. So many people, I was scared to do this, but I did it anyway. And when they reported that, they felt good, and they got a lot of confidence. And I think when we were doing it as a group, and you had people from all different, I had people in like mortgage and insurance and all these different people, basically telling the same type of story. Like, I'm afraid, I went ahead and did this. I called on this. We one of the things we talk about is going after big fish. I called on this big fish, and here's what happened. Confidence is built this way. And when everybody hung up, it was like, you realized, I'm not alone. Everybody else is going through this. And you get inspired by hearing that everybody else is facing their fears. And the people that are going to ultimately be successful in the long run are facing those fears, and they're moving through them. They're not sitting at home saying, I still need to do 5 more weeks of research.
Yeah. It's the old analysis paralysis, and majoring in the minors, they're getting ready to get ready. Yeah. Right. Oh, I got to wait for my business cards to come in before I can call. Like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, do you have any insight on like best times to call or best days of the week?
No, I always defer to everybody out there, the trainers who are really into I guess what you'd call the quality type presentation, those sales trainers who are out there talking about, this is exactly what to say, and this is the whole script, and this is when you can call. I am, a fan of, hey, don't let all of your assumptions weigh you down. Don't think that Friday at 3:00 is so bad. Actually, I've had great luck at Friday at 3:00. So don't make up all of these stories.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your assumptions may be right, but go test them.
Exactly.
Because it depends on the industry and whatever, because I do tell people, I tell them, try calling early, before the executive assistant comes in, call at lunch, when the executive assistant is gone at lunch. Call after hours, because the boss is usually there.
Absolutely. I mean, the one piece of advice and the one hang up that I run into more than anything is people not wanting to interrupt. And I make the point that there's no human condition anymore, that now in 2022, where there's just no such thing as not interrupting somebody. As humans now, we are in a state of constant movement. Yeah. And constant, our attention is being focused somewhere all the time. So your desire to maybe hit somebody when you're quote unquote not interrupting them, what does that even mean? What does that even look like? It's not even a thing.
Well, and even back in the day, like, oh no, I'm in a meeting. I'm like, well, why'd you answer your phone, dude? Right. Like I never took that personally. It's like, dude, you didn't have to answer. That's what voicemail is for. That's why you hit end or deny or whatever, decline. Exactly. So it's like, get over that. So what's the 21-day challenge? How can people participate in that?
Yeah, so I'm going to start one up soon. I do one about every 4 or 5 weeks, and it's good. Just a small group. We have a couple meetings in advance, talk about what Go for No is, and then we teach them how to do the challenge. And then we meet day 8 and day 15 and day 22 to talk about how it went and kind of coach people through things. But it's actually one of the things that we did during the pandemic was we created the 21-day Go for No challenge workbook.
Oh,
And
nice.
as a tool, put that on Amazon. So that was something that as we were just sitting around doing nothing, we were like, well, let's create this tool, something that we'd wanted to do for a long time and never had the time to do. Did that. And then I thought how fun it would be to bring the challenge to life and to have these small groups. And I learn so much from people, and I just love seeing their transformations. A lot of it too is shockingly is people learn to be more courageous just in their personal lives, like talking to family and stuff. I had one girl who she was like, I don't want to call I don't know what the backstory was, but she was really scared to call her grandfather and thought that he would not want to talk to her or something. And she called him and they had a great conversation and we're starting to mend this relationship. So I'm like, all right, well, you went for no, he didn't reject you. And so this is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What grandpa's going to say no?
That's what I was thinking.
I'm sure
but
there's
I
some
didn't know.
story.
I'm sure. Yeah.
There's some history there probably, but most grandparents get over it. I remember, my sister was a terror back in the day. My parents got divorced and we were young and it hit her hard and she spiraled down a rough path for a while. But I always remember my grandmother telling her, she says, Rachel, I love you to pieces. I just don't like you right now. It's like, okay, that's fair. She was acting up, so, but that's good. So how do people, do they sign up? Do they just go to your website? So it's goforno.com.
Goforno.com. Right. If they sign up for our notifications, they will get notified about when the challenge.
Yeah, I thought it was a typo at first. Get notivated, stay notivated. Like, oh, I guess see what you're doing there.
Oh yeah, everything's note. Everything we have noteworthy things are noteworthy, and we have motivation. Yeah, I can't stop myself.
There you go. Hey, I went for no, and look at that. You said yes and came back on the show. So well, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, huh?
That's right. Yes.
All right. Well, I am linking there, goforno.com. So get the book, my people. Sign up for the 21-day challenge. Get after it. Pick up the phone. Ask for a damn sale, huh?
It's amazing what happens.
This is where you say amen.
Amen.
It's amazing. You start clapping.
It's amazing what happens when you ask.
That's cool. All right. Well, I appreciate you. We're going to get this on the air, right? That you're hosting my daughter and you're taking her and her new husband on a tour of Disney World, right? All expenses paid. I'm going for no here. See what I'm saying? So you're going to pick her up at the airport.
Too darn hot, Wes. Too darn hot. Yes.
All right.
But they will love it. They will love it.
Well, they are Disneyland freaks. So I told them they're going to be spoiled when they go to Disney World. But they might move to Florida. So I'm crossing my fingers. If I can get one kid out of the state, then maybe others can go. Then my wife will be motivated. But, I'm going for no there too. All right.
Yes. So, come to Florida. It's magical here.
I know. All right. Andrea Waltz, go for no. Thanks for coming back on the show. It's great seeing you.
Thanks, Wes. You too.
Have a great day. You must get eyes and ears on your offer. Be accountable. It's okay to be scared. Do it anyway. Go after big fish. You're not alone. Amen. Go back and listen to her first episode if you need to. Get her book. If you need some accountability on this, that's why I've made the 12 Weeks to Peak program, 12weekstopeak.com. Get you some accountability. Join our free Facebook group. I will support you through these efforts. Okay? There are things you just must do. And this is one of them. Go for no. Okay? You're listening to this podcast to grow. Don't listen just to be entertained or distracted. Motivation is fine, but you have to take the action. That's how you grow. Okay? You know what you need to do. It's probably what you don't want to do. That's why you need to do it. And if you need some help, it's understandable. We all do. All right? Thanks for listening. I'll go sell something.